Hi, and welcome to week 4 examples. What I'm going to do now is to show you a few examples which are similar to some of the quiz questions you're going to get in this week's assignment. Okay, so let's look at example 1. What is the y-intercept of the following equation? 3x minus 4y equals 24. Now, the y-intercept refers to when the line that represents that equation crosses the y-axis, and at that point x is equal to 0. So we know one of the values of the y-intercept is x equals 0. Now we need to figure out what y is. So what we do is we replace in that equation x by 0. So then we get 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 24. 3 times 0 is 0. Therefore, minus 4y is equal to 24. And now we divide both sides by minus 4, and we get minus 6. And therefore, the y-intercept is 0 minus 6. Remember, an intercept, or any point on a graph, always has two values, an x value and a y value. Okay, let's look at the second one. Example 2. Find the equation of the line containing the point 4 minus 2 and having the slope m equals 6. Alright, so here the answers are going to ask you to look at it in the point-slope form of an equation. There's 3 different forms of an equation. Point-slope, also the standard form, and also the slope-intercept form. So the point-slope form looks like this: y minus y1, which would be a specific point, is equal to m, the slope, times x minus x1, which is in a specific point for x, okay? So since we have a specific point for x, 4, and minus 2 for y, we just replace that in the equation. And our equation looks like y plus 2 equals 6 times x minus 4. Why is y 2 as opposed to minus 2? Well, because it's y minus y1. If y1 was minus 2, then you put a negative sign in front of it and you wind up with a positive. So it's y plus 2 comes out to be the answer. Let's look at example 3 now. Find the slope of a line between the points minus 1322 and 8 minus 17. Alright, so the slope is the difference of the y's divided by the difference of the x's. So all we do here is take y2, which is negative 17, and we subtract y1, which is 22. So that's on top, negative 17 minus 22. And then on the bottom we take 8 minus a negative 13, which gives us a positive 13. 8 plus 13 is 21. And negative 17 minus 22 is minus 39. So we get minus 39 over 21, and then fractions always need to be reduced to the lowest terms if they can be reduced. So in this case, it's minus 13 over 7. Okay, let's look at example 4 now. What is the slope and y-intercept of this equation? Now this equation is in the slope-intercept format. So the slope is always the number in front of the x term, and the y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. Okay? So minus 4 is the number in front of the x, and therefore that is the slope. And the y-intercept, we already know that x is 0 at the y-intercept, so we substitute 0 for x, and minus 4 times 0 is 0, and therefore y is equal to 6, positive 6. Therefore our y-intercept is 0 and 6. Alright? Now let's go to example 5. Determine whether the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. The problems on your quiz will be slightly different, but you need to understand how that works, okay? So for two lines to be parallel, they need to have the same slope. And for two lines to be perpendicular, the slopes have to be negative reciprocals. What does that mean? It means that when you multiply their slope, the result will be minus 1. Okay? So we need to calculate the slopes of both equations by solving for y and putting the equation in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. And let's do that. So let's look at the first one. 3y plus 21 equals 2x. Therefore, if we subtract 21 from both sides, we get 3y equals 2x minus 21. And if we divide both sides by 3, we'll wind up with the equation y equals 2/3 x minus 7, because 21 divided by 3 is 7. Alright? So, the slope of that line is 2/3. Now let's look at the second one. 2y equals 16 minus 3x. So, the x term is not the first term, but it doesn't matter. As long as there's a number in front of the x, that's the slope. Alright? So, to solve this, we divide both sides by 2 to get just y by itself. So 16 divided by 2 is 8, and minus 3 divided by 2 is minus 3 over 2. And then we rearrange this in the slope-intercept format, and we see that the slope of this line is minus 3 over 2. And if you multiply 2/3 by minus 3 over 2, which is the negative reciprocal, you're going to get minus 1, and therefore those two lines are perpendicular. Okay, let's look at one more. Example 6. Here the question is, what is the slope of this line? So you just have a line. Well, to find the slope, what you need to do is to find 2 points. And you can see the line goes through some of the points very exactly, and through some of them somewhere like between 1 and 2, so that's not the points you want to use. So you want to use the points where the line goes exactly through a intersection of 2 lines. So the first one would be 0, 1. That would be the first point. And the second one that I would pick would be 5, 4. You can see that the line intersects that in those boxes exactly in the corner. Okay, so we have 2 points. We calculate the slope. 4 minus 1 over 5 minus 0 gives us 3/5. So we know that the equation will be y is equal to 3/5 x plus some number. Okay, so however, if we substitute x, 0 for x, which would be where our y-intercept would be, we would get y is equal to 1. Okay? And also if you look at the graph, you can see that the y-intercept is exactly at 0, 1. Therefore, the value after the x will be a 1. So that is our equation.